Have you ever felt like no matter how much you achieve, it's never enough?
This topic really puts me on the spot here because I have been a chronic overachiever for over 20 years. It wasn't until recently that I realized all of my doing and achieving are my way of avoiding what's really going on in me emotionally. Learning to step back from overachieving tendencies has been life-changing for me, and I hope it can be for you too. In this video, we'll explore the hidden signs of an overachiever and what you can do about it to finally start living your life fully. Let's dive in. So what is overachieving? A lot of people tend to associate overachieving tendencies as something rather positive, like highly productive, highly performing traits, which is why clarifying the definition here is really important. An overachiever is someone who takes excessive actions. They're often driven by the need to achieve more, not out of passion, but to escape negative emotions or fears. So what does it look like? How do you spot an overachiever, whether it's yourself or someone around you? Here are 6 signs of an overachiever. Number 1, workaholism. If you're constantly wrapped up in work, you might have overachieving tendencies. Overachievers are incredibly goal-oriented and often do really well in their jobs. They find a lot of emotional safety at work. They stay up late, put their career ahead of their personal lives, and would often skip self-care and hobbies in order to prioritize the tasks at hand. This can create high expectations for those around them and eventually bring down everyone else's morale. It's important to remember that not all workaholics or high achievers are considered overachievers, where we'll talk about the differences later in this video. Number 2, outcome focused. Overachievers tend to believe that the only thing that matters is reaching a certain outcome. They will judge themselves really harshly by their ability to reach specific goals. This mindset can lead them to focus on nailing experiences, whether it's a vacation, a wedding, or a group retreat where everyone else tends to enjoy. If you're an overachiever, you might find that as soon as you show up at a new situation, you're immediately looking for ways or parameters to succeed. This can make it really tough to enjoy activities where you're not sure how to measure success, or you're just not naturally good at. For example, I got called out by my therapist many times because during therapy, I was constantly looking for the right thing to say. Whenever she asked me a question, I would immediately jump into my encyclopedia to find the right answer. Now, this is me paying a professional to help me with my mental health, and I sit in front of her trying to identify the parameters of success. So what? I can become the best therapy client ever. Number 3, reactive problem solving. Overachievers are often reactive rather than reflective. They focus on solving situations instead of feeling any emotions. They don't ask what's going on, rather they ask why is this happening. You can see this in relationships a lot. Take myself as an example. Whenever there's something going on, whether a life challenge or an argument with my partner, my first instinct is always to jump in and fix it. When my friends feel overwhelmed and try to share their feelings with me, instead of listening and emphasizing hearing them out, I often jump straight to suggesting solutions. I am so focused on how can I fix it, so much so that I completely miss the opportunity to listen to people, hear them out, and acknowledge their feelings. If you notice this in yourself, you'll probably find it hard to sit down with your own tough emotions. Instead of feeling sad or frustrated, you jump straight into actions to avoid these uncomfortable feelings. What's tricky about this is how annoyingly effective it is. Our brain sees it as an effective coping technique that makes life better, so we keep doing it over and over again.
In a way, this addiction to action is very similar to substance use. Our brain becomes hooked to the immediate relief it brings. Number 4, struggling with intimacy. Overachievers often get freaked out by highly emotional people. I'm laughing because how real this is. If you're in a relationship with an overachiever, you might feel like you're constantly chasing them to connect. They might see intimacy as just another task on their to-do list, thinking, I'll be more intimate once I finish these things, once I become more productive. This mindset can make their partners feel really neglected and emotionally distant. Overachievers might not realize that emotional connections can't really be scheduled or checked off like a work item. Again, instead of being present and open, they might keep pushing intimacy aside, waiting for a perfect moment for it to happen. Number 5, perfectionism. It shouldn't be surprising that perfectionism and self-criticism are hallmark traits of an overachiever. Overachievers can often set impossibly high standards for themselves and are quick to judge themselves against these standards for not meeting these unrealistic expectations. For example, they might aim for flawless performance at work and impeccable household management while maintaining a busy social life all at once. When they inevitably fail at these goals, they internalize their failure, leading to a harsh cycle of self-criticism. The self-criticism can take a toll on their mental health, leading to increased level of anxiety. Over time, this fear of not being good enough can become paralyzing, causing them to avoid situations in which they might fail. Number 6, motivated by fear. Overachievers tend to worry about making mistakes or not living up to standards. Their drive and dedication are usually more about avoiding negative outcomes than chasing positive ones. Instead of being motivated by a passion for their work or a desire to learn and grow, they're primarily focused on preventing the things they fear. This can create a really high-stress environment where the pressure to succeed is overwhelming and ever-present. This fear can also show up in behaviors like obsessively planning and trying to control every aspect of their life. For example, an overachiever might push themselves to deliver a flawless presentation at work, not because they're excited about the project, but because they're terrified of receiving criticism from their team. Similarly, they might strive to maintain a perfect social image, not out of genuine enjoyment or celebration of life, but to avoid often imaginary judgment or disappointment from others. So how does someone become an overachiever? It often begins as a coping mechanism for dealing with harsh realities like violence, chaos, or highly depressing environments during childhood. Growing up in such conditions, they might have learned that excelling and staying busy were ways to create a sense of control and safety. Even if their upbringing wasn't particularly traumatic, overachievers might come from families where parents were emotionally distant, where everyone else was focused on doing something and no one really talked about their feelings. In these families, the focus was on achievements and tasks rather than emotional connections. Parents might have been emotionally withdrawn, not necessarily out of neglect, but perhaps because they themselves didn't know how to deal with their own emotions. With this, children learn that it's safer and often more rewarding to focus on doing rather than feeling. Over time, they start equating their worth with their achievements and develop a habit of staying busy and productive. As they grow older, this behavior can become ingrained. They continue to seek validations through accomplishments, striving to meet ever higher standards they set for themselves. I mentioned earlier that not all high achievers are overachievers. While both groups may aim for success, overachievers are never truly satisfied with their accomplishments. They jump from one goal to the next without taking a moment to celebrate what they have achieved. It's like they're constantly on a treadmill, always running but never arriving. High achievers, on the other hand, care deeply about how well they perform, not just about the target itself. They really enjoy the journey of learning and developing along the way. They genuinely find joy and fulfillment in the process itself, not just in the end result. Most importantly,
they are not driven by fear. Their motivation comes from a place of interest and passion rather than a need to avoid failure and punishments.
If you're an overachiever, you might be worried that you will stop being so productive and high-performing once you stop. Chances are, your work ethics and your abilities to perform will stay with you. What you're changing is your motivation and how you're connecting with yourself. With that, I want to share what I did to dial back from being an overachiever. First, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom with your overdoing. Experiencing burnout from work or facing struggles in intimate relationships can make the price tag of overachieving more real. This helps you explore and understand the underlying cause of your overachieving, the need to separate from people or problems through doing. Next, get in touch with your feelings. Emotions don't disappear when we push them down. They become repressed and show up in other ways, like having a short temper, overreacting, passive-aggressive behavior, or even symptoms like anxiety and depression. Whenever you feel them coming, let your emotions surface and move through you. Create a space for them and welcome the hard emotions, just like hanging out with an old friend. To break the habit of overdoing, the true behavior change in me really started when I learned to slow down. This doesn't mean staring at a wall in agony, but allowing pain or sometimes boredom to be present without numbing it. Try to take walks alone, have a free weekend without overscheduling, and be mindful of your emotions without distractions. Learn to bring kindness and self-compassion to your experience, especially during tough times. Finally, I also found it tremendously helpful to get to the feelings of others. Overachievers can often let their relationships suffer in the pursuit of their goals. Instead of always trying to fix or help, practice relating to people in other ways. You will find that building deeper emotional connections with others can be far more rewarding than constantly striving to achieve more. That's all for today. If you recognize yourself or someone you care about as an overachiever, don't worry, you're not alone. And sometimes I joke to myself that addiction to action is not the worst type of addiction in the world. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for similar content. As always, may we all live with ease.